Right? Yeah, no, fine. Start the meeting. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our meeting this evening. Will everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First and foremost, we are very, very excited to welcome Donna Perez and Will Brooks, who are our very first in our district ex officio school board members. And we are so excited to have you on board because you're going to bring a totally different perspective to our board meetings. You're going to let us know what's going on in the trenches and what the students are saying and faculty, just eyes and ears that we may not necessarily have privy to. So we're very much looking forward to that. And we also think and believe that you will learn a lot from this experience as well that you'll carry forward in your education and in your career. So congratulations to the two of you and welcome. And if you'd just like to share a few words about yourself, that would be wonderful. So Donna?
Hi everyone, my name is Perez. I'm a senior this year. I'm originally from Mexico. I moved here 4 years ago. And I'm just really excited to be part of this, and I'm looking forward to my best, be as useful as I can be.
Wonderful, wonderful, thank you.
And I'm William Brooks. I'm from Lake Placid originally, but my family's from Long Island. My parents have been in this community for about 20 years now. My mom works at the elementary school, and my dad does make some pretty good pizza across the street. I don't know, maybe I'm a little biased, but yeah, I'm pretty excited to be on this board. Just to let people maybe feel more comfortable speaking to a student rather than, an adult. So I want to share my thoughts and what my classmates are.
Wonderful, wonderful, thanks. Do you prefer to be called William or Will?
Whatever is easier.
Okay, well, thanks so much. We're really happy to have you on board.
I feel like we should clap.
Yeah. Very exciting. And as always, if there's any other questions that you have, if you don't understand something, feel free. There's no question here that is not something that we should address for you. So always feel free to interject and ask. So with that said, moving on, our first item is the consent agenda. Recommended action, approve the items below which are included in the consent agenda. 6A minutes and 8C special education. May I have a motion, please?
Big one. One second.
Where does the question come in after this?
Well, you raised your hand, so I guess you.
All right, question.
During this.
We get to see these special education programs, and we raise our hands and say aye to that. We have no clue about it. I don't want any clue about it. I'm curious as to why that rises up to a board approval, because when I put my hand up, I'm taking responsibility, I think. Do we have oversight responsibilities there?
Yes, yes. So it's often a change in a student's, free and public education and their rights. And so the district having the board approve that is the final step in approving.
In essence, it's your approval, because we say yes.
In essence, it's the Committee on Special Education.
Yes.
So, and then the board puts the final approval on stamp on it. There's a fair amount of regulation and law in those processes.
That has to come to this.
Yes.
All right, if it has to come to this level, then that makes sense, because I have full faith in those committees.
Any other discussion? If not, please vote. Six yes. Moving into the first good of the cause, is there anything at all, Karen, that you have online? No. under information for the public. I believe Tim, oh, right, sorry. Is there anybody in our audience this afternoon that would like to speak? Thank you. Moving on to information for the public. There is information under public content. And Tim, were you going to say anything about this or?
Just a response at our last meeting in Wilmington, we had a parent asking about the state of our busing. It's been a pretty open secret that our district has been down as many as 3 drivers over the past year. And now we are at a point where we're fully staffed, and the last driver who is under our employ just needs to pass some exams to be able to drive. So the long winter of discontent is starting to warm for the district. But there's just some questions as well about the length of bus runs and how we determine where stops are. And that's all done through a routing software that basically is a geographic routing software. It gives us routes that are the most efficient to keep students off the bus for the longest amount. Some information in there if anyone's curious.
Thank you. Moving into our report phase. Our first would be the budget performance report from Dana, please.
Sure. So as of October 15th, we have expended a little over $5 million. That's about a 7% increase over last year at this time of about $4.7 million. But when you look at this, you see the various categories. There's nothing that really stands out in terms of, oh my goodness, we are expending way too much than we have in the past. This is really on point. As I've stated in the past, these are always just a snapshot of the day I pull these out. October 15th, I run the reports. I see what it is. It changes from day to day, depending on what revenue comes in and what expenses go out on that sort of thing. We're on point and on trend for, a normal year thus far, as of October 15th. For the revenue, the same thing, as of October 15th, a little over $18 million has come in. Represents about a little less than a percent increase over last year, showing that we have about 20% left of our revenue, which that is typical, where 85% of our revenue comes from property taxes. We're at the end of tax collecting. We've got about a week and a half left of collecting taxes before everything gets reverted to the county, where they then look at who hasn't paid and they re-levy their county taxes and all that. And then in the springtime, whatever is remaining, the county makes us whole. So, we always get in the end, all of our property taxes. So looking at the 20% remaining, that is typical, because that's basically our state aid that doesn't really start coming in until early winter and into the spring. So we are trending exactly where we should be when it comes to our expenses and our revenue at this point. Any questions?
Thanks, Dana. Next report is also from Dana, the treasurer's report, please.
So this is as of September 30th. And again, this is kind of a typical September treasury reports. You can see that in the second box down, cash receipts of a little over, $14.5 million. That kind of is on par with what I just said in terms of where our revenue is collecting. $18 million of our budget comes from property taxes. So we're sitting at $14.5 million that's come in. Our cash disbursements for the month were a little over $1.5 million. Again, that's on par for what we typically do on a given month. And school is fully in session, and all of our staff are here, and they're getting paid once again. Our 10-month employees are there, as well as expenses. You can see on the other column, you got our NBT Bank and iClass systems there. You can see that right there, we're looking at about $19 million sitting in various reserve accounts. This is that time of year where we move most of our excess money into NICLAS, which is getting about, I think it's a little less than 4% right now. With the rate change last month, we dipped down below 4% in terms of our rate of return. But this time of year, because we're flush with all of our property tax revenue, it goes into the NICLAS so that we can generate some additional revenue with that. So again, we're trending right where we should be trending at this time of year for our revenue and our treasury reports.
Thanks, Dana. It's great that we're still getting at least close to 4%.
Yeah, it's a little under 4 at this point, but
Yeah,
right now I
sure.
think they are potentially looking at another rate decrease at the end of this month as well. So, but we anticipated that anyway. That was always the long range plan.
Grateful it lasted. Operations report, Dana, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight with this is something that it will be as a public hearing in a month is the use of the repair reserve. There's 2 items that are going to be on that in that public hearing, which is one is the updating the audio system in the gymnasium here at the middle high school for a cost of a little over $22,000. It's kind of needed. It's about 20 years old. So that's one of the items. The second item that will be brought up is looking at our athletic fields, the James Cordial fields, and doing some basically top dressing of those fields. And what they do, they bring in lots of sand and they spread it all out to kind of help even it all out. And then overseed and all that. So it's something that really should happen on a yearly basis to maintain our fields. I don't know when the last time it's actually has been done. So I think it's a timely thing to start to do because of the use that the fields gets on an annual basis. Because as you know, if you let the preventative maintenance go, that's when you end up having a bigger issue down the road when you need some major fixes. So we want to kind of start getting into that process of tending to our fields as the fields are used considerably year round. So.
Was there any reason, Dana, where it sounds like there was a lapse in whatever the turf maintenance was, or?
Well, this is something above and above normal maintenance of the fields. I mean, we have a contract with turf management that comes in and they fertilize, they overseed and all that. And then when we have various events like Summit Lacrosse that uses it, we bring them in to overseed and help mitigate the use of that to get them back to the playing fields. I mean, this year in particular, you guys will probably attest to that is, when soccer started, those fields were as brown as can be. Now because of a dry summer, but we also had Summit Lacrosse and turf management came in and they do this every year after Summit Lacrosse. And then watering and stuff like that. And I think last time I looked, they were looking much better. So it's something that it needs to get done. We just have not done it, partly because of the cost. About a $15,000 expense. But we're going to be focusing on really just the playing portions of the fields down there.
And which fields are they?
So it'll be, wherever inside the track.
Okay.
So it'll be inside the track, the baseball fields, as well as where soccer plays. So you'll see that there are, in essence, 3 soccer fields right down there that are currently lines that overlap with the outfields of baseball and softball. So that's where the focus will be, is on the playing surfaces.
So when Summit Lacrosse uses our spaces, do they reimburse us for any of the upkeep that needs to be done?
we charge them for the use of
Okay.
the fields. We get, it's based off of the number of games they play over that. They put 5 fields in. I think we collected from them about $14,000.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Our next report, it's our first report ever, our student board member report. Dom and Will, if you have anything you'd like to share with us, we encourage you this time.
Okay, well, we recently had homecoming last Friday. About 100 students participated in that, which was really good. 40, I'm pretty sure it was around 40-ish pre-bought for the tickets, and then the rest came up directly just ignore it there. And we did have SATs that were taken today. Hopefully everyone did very well.
Definitely, thank you. I heard that the homecoming was a great success, so it's wonderful that you started that.
Also, on Saturday, we have the haunted house run by seniors and juniors, and that was really good. I think they collected $1,700. So it was
Wow.
pretty good. And we also start playoffs this week for the varsity girls and boys, both at home. Girls play Indian Love Lake and boys play Seaton Catholic. So hopefully everything will go. And we also have the Halloween parade on top.
Great.
Yeah.
Are you going to go in it with the little ones? No, I'm not sure.
I'll be on, so each grade level, gets a float. So for our sophomores, we are doing spooky forest theme.
Oh, great.
Fairly sure what this, cemetery,
Seniors are doing the Adams Family.
Addams
Wonderful.
cemetery and Scooby-Doo, I think one of, was,
Great.
I think freshman, yeah.
Yeah,
I think this is something new too. I don't recall seeing
Yeah.
floats in the past.
This is, our new community schools, director, Mr. Gotham.
Well, that's exciting. Wow.
I'm just mad nobody called me for ideas, 'cause I had lots of.
Just keeping you at bay.
I had advice.
Well, thanks for sharing. Any other thoughts from anyone? Wonderful, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, we have Mr. Seymour and his superintendent report, please.
Excellent. So as you can imagine, since our last meeting, a lot has been going on. So we've had a number of college visits already taking place. On the 2nd of October, we had almost about a dozen students go to North Country Community College. We have some trips planned to Albany in the coming week. So there'll be SUNY Albany, Hudson Valley Community College, RPI, among other schools that will be students will visit. And that's sponsored by the AdOpt Fund once again, which is great. We also had a really nice sort of change in practice with some of the schools that visit the district. SUNY Albany conducted on-site interviews in the middle high school and offered immediate acceptances to students. So that was, I'm told from Ms. Lindsay, a pretty inspiring and exciting thing to have happen in the middle high school. And so ultimately, 12 students were offered admission basically on the spot after giving their interviews. So we're excited for all of those visits that are coming and grateful for all the ones that have happened so far. Our mental health team is in the process of reviewing the mental health survey and well-being survey that they give on an annual basis. So this is how the mental health team looks at providing different supports for students or maybe even larger topics to discuss at grade levels or potentially for full building. So we're grateful for the mental health team for getting that data together. As Will and Donna mentioned, homecoming was last week. I do want to thank Mr. Gotham for his coordination of those activities. The senior games were great. I had an opportunity to go. Donna was our lone senior on the varsity girls team, so I was able to see that game, which was great. And there was food trucks at two of the events at the fields, and then the trucks came up here afterwards, which was great. And also want to thank the electric department for loaning us a generator so that we could actually have the waffle cabin working. That was great. It's good to have people in places that we know. And just excited, student council already reached out to me about getting homecoming on the calendar for next year. So sounds like it's a great tradition to build on and looking forward to it. There is an update on our primary project. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, the primary project is a program that we have at the elementary school. And basically it's a program that encourages our youngest students in grades K through 2 to learn how to play, to regulate their emotions, to be better classmates, and just to work through the big emotions that you can have as 5, 6, 7-year-old. And for years, the primary project has been synonymous with the person who has run it down there, who's been Linda Young. And after many years of service, Linda has stepped aside and is retiring from her role as the primary project coordinator at the elementary school. You may also know Linda from her long service as the director of the Thrive and Thrift Food Pantry and Thrift Store. So if anyone sees Linda, please do thank her for her service. She's been a welcome and happy force at the elementary school for a long time. Thankfully, we do have someone in to follow in her good work. Erica Height has been working for the district in support of Linda's work for the past year, and she's picking up all of Linda's additional days. So we should not see a break in service, but certainly we'll miss Linda over the course of the years to come. Our students in Miss Carlisto's English class are getting ready to go to the 21st annual high school writing retreat. This is at Paul Smith College on October 30th and 31st. And this is sponsored by the Adirondack Center for Writing. So Miss Carlisto is very excited about this. When the students went last year, she said that they came back really energized, excited to write, excited to be creative. So we're excited that that's going to take place once again. One of the things that I like to do is just acknowledge different moments in the school day that really spoke to me about teachers connecting with kids. And I have a couple of teacher shout outs I just want to share at this meeting. The first is at the elementary school. So our kindergarten team this year is composed of Bree Monty and Bree Kane. And our kindergarten team went to Tucker Farms, as they're often wont to do every year, to do their annual potato picking field trip. I've seen the kids go and come back with the potatoes every year. I don't know if you guys remember doing this, maybe. But what I didn't know until I observed the lesson is that when they come back, they actually make mashed potatoes. And so I got to see the process of them making the mashed potatoes, which was a student-led process. And some of the responses that the students gave in the class, when asked what you put on the mashed potatoes, they said, you put peanut butter on the mashed potatoes. And then what asked what the first step is in making mashed potatoes, they kept saying adding butter to the water. I don't know if that's true or not, but what really warmed my heart with this particular lesson, other than the fact that the kids all got to eat mashed potatoes, is that Miss Kane and Miss Monty are masters at maintaining kindness and acceptance and warmth when students give answers that are not the ones we're expecting. And that's an art as a teacher. You never want to deflate a student who gives an answer that you may not be looking for in the class. And maybe we should have peanut butter on mashed potatoes. I don't know. The other teacher I want to shout out is Mr. Baker at the middle high school. He and his students have really been on a tear lately. They participated in a Mirror Lake survey with the DEC. I think it's the first time it's been done. Measuring oxygen levels and analyzing fish samples. And then they collaborated with Marvin Land Surveying to assess the retaining wall on the hill and try and improve the drainage that has been a perpetual problem here for the district. I can't remember, Will, are you involved in either of those?
No, I did have this class last year, but we did do work with Martin landscaping and surveying, but we were over at the Shipping Center and we created the nice little garden.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's a continuation of those projects. But I want to thank Don and Colleen for coming to the Mirror Lake for the survey of the lake. That was great. And it's good to see our kids in there catching fish and wearing waders and doing all the things that you would hope to see kids doing and looking at our science. This Friday, we have a day off for students, but a day of professional development for staff. So we have Sarah Hackett, who's part of SUNY Plattsburgh's education department coming, and she will be working on differentiated instruction techniques for teachers. Basically, when a teacher has students in front of them, they have students who have different levels of knowledge and proficiency on a subject, and teaching all of them at the same time really requires a lot of skills. And Ms. Hackett is going to help make sure that we're always sharpening the saws of those skills. Looking forward to that. Looking ahead, we have our drama club production of Night Night Roger Roger this weekend. It's in the auditorium. It is a comedy, I'm told, and shows are on Friday and Saturday at 7, 1, and 7 p.m. Looking ahead on some of the community schools offerings, in addition to the Halloween parade, there's a pumpkin carving night that's being sponsored by the Alumni Association and Friends. That's taking place at the elementary school on October 29th. So we're grateful for their support with that. I also want to introduce the board to the newest member of the elementary school. I thought it was Flat Stanley, but this is actually Elliot.
Just like
It's an
is that-
LE is in elementary.
That's
It's a stretch here, but we're gonna go for it. This is Elliot.
good.
And Elliot is here to announce to everyone that next week, some of his friends from first grade will be, not next week, next meeting. First graders will be here to present to the board on the Baker's Orchard trip that they just took. So
Great.
looking forward to seeing some of your younger classmates here to discuss their visit to the orchard. And at some point, I will shamelessly ask the board for a picture with our newest student so we can put this up in the elementary school with the other locations that Elliot here has been thus far.
Are you doing a life-size one of those or something?
This is a big stretch for me. I mean, and if you notice, he's already in.
I saw that.
But you colored it yourself.
I can't take credit for this. Miss St. Louis, who
gonna say
runs
Finn did
the elementary office, she is the brain person behind this one, and I think he's gonna see a lot of mileage in his time here.
Wow.
So looking forward to that and to the class of 2037
That's a lot.
being here to talk at our next meeting.
Thanks. Appreciate it. That's awesome.
That's something. And last but certainly not least, we are here to celebrate Board Appreciation Week. So thank you to all of our board members. We want to take a moment to recognize you for the hours that you give to our school and the effort that you give in supporting our students. So Colleen, Ryan, Chris, John, Doug, Don, and Stephanie, who's on Zoom, and our newest board members, Donna and Will. Thank you for all of your service to the community. And to show our support for your efforts, we have a certificate of appreciation for you. And we also have
Disney World.
we also have a pot and plant for you. And each plant pot was made by a student in Miss Huber's ceramics class.
Okay.
So Mrs. Huber and her students are very grateful to the board for advocating for the purchase of a new kiln for them last year.
Yeah.
You may recall. And so that is the fruit of your support right there. And so at the end of the meeting, we'll make sure that everyone gets their certificate and put your eye on which of those pots is speaking to you most.
1, 2, 3.
It's gonna be a race. It's gonna be a race.
I think I got one more table hop.
And I want to thank our student artists who created these: Katie Adragna, Autumn Bradshaw, Addie Colby, Eliza Fitzsimmons, Allison Lahart, Kendra Levitt, Addie Petty, Echo Staves, and Jocelyn Vasquez Hernandez. Thank you to all of those students for their handiwork in supporting our board members, and thank you all for your service.
And there's a little note on there, who made the pot, what kind of plant it is, and how to take care
Oh,
of
that's fun.
it.
That's great.
Probably good, there's instructions.
I did want to also say is what Tim was saying about Linda Young. Definitely, anybody sees her, just special thank you. For many years before we have the beautiful new food pantry and Thrive Shop, she would go down the precarious little stairs in the underbelly of St. Agnes Church to work the food pantry downstairs. And she has given so much to this community. So if you do see her, special thanks. I also wanted to give an additional shout out to Sam Baker, only because I've had firsthand experience with a couple of additional activities that he does after hours. I only know this because Torrin has done a couple of them. I don't know, Will, if you're in the same science class or whatever, but one of them was a month or two ago, again in the evening. Torrin came over later in the evening, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and we asked where he was going. He was meeting Mr. Baker and some of the other science kids over in the meadow at John Brown Farm to do stargazing, again, after hours, and I think it was even on a weekend. Recently, again, Torrin came over at 9 o'clock, met up with a few boys, and they rode their bikes over with headlamps to meet with, again, Sam Baker, and they were tagging owls. And just a really, really neat experience, but it just goes to show you the extent that, you know, some of our teachers go above and beyond after hours and often on the weekends. So again, a special shout out to them, only because I knew what they were up to. Next item is information for the board. Under public content is the extracurricular activity report for you to look at. And there are a few items under executive content for you to review at your leisure. Moving into the discussion phase, and I believe that our good friend and attorney, Mr. Kissel, will be speaking to the board on this.
Thank you,
Thanks, Bill.
Colleen. So I am the bearer of bad news tonight. If you know what the subject is, you probably anticipated that. So by way of brief background, I think you all know that as a property owner, you can bring an action against a municipality challenging your tax assessment. The assessing unit here is the town of North Elba. However, challenging a tax assessment results in impacts not only to the town, but also the county of Essex, and most importantly and most significantly, the school district, because our tax rate and the taxes we collect are much larger, as you probably know, than those of the other two municipalities. So an action was started way back in 2017, and that's frankly part of the problem with this case. It was settled by the town just a couple weeks ago. So the action is against the assessing unit, not against the school district. We are not a party to the litigation, but we have a large interest in the litigation. These cases sometimes drag on. I'm not sure what happened here. The town has now retained a law firm in Glens Falls to do all the town work, including the assessment work. That representation has only started I think since Derek became a supervisor, so it's only a few years old. Prior to that, other counsel represented the town on this case. In my opinion, it should have been settled years ago. It's not uncommon for these things to drag on, but it's very unfortunate when they do. So what they did was to have appraisers look at the value. So the landowner has an appraiser who's a very technical expertise kind of person who does an analysis of the value of the property. And they have various methods they can use. One of the methods that hurt here, frankly, is so-called income method. So you look at, if you have a business property like this is Elderwood, right? Everybody knows that. If you have a business property, one of the methods you can use is say, what is the profitability of the business, which obviously relates to the value of the property. This outfit's been losing money for many years, so their appraiser was able to take that methodology and say that's going to damage incredibly the value of the property and therefore the assessment. Now we had the town, I should say, had an appraiser, a very reputable one out of Syracuse who has done work before for the town, and they came in with a much higher number. What often happens is that these cases get negotiated. Judges don't like to try them. If they are tried, the sole testimony is that of the experts. So one appraiser testifies and then the other appraiser testifies and then they're cross-examined. The town decided it was better to settle this case than to try it for a couple of reasons. It couldn't be tried for almost another year, which would have been another tax assessment year piling up. It would have been expensive to try it, and most importantly, the outcome would have been most uncertain. I wasn't privy to the actual litigation settlement discussion, so I don't know how the numbers that I'm going to share with you were reached, other than to tell you conceptually, there's always a compromise between a high appraiser here by the property owner and a much lower one by the municipality. For the years 2017 through 2024, the town reached an agreement with the property owner, resulting in tax refunds due the property owner of $325,000. The school being the largest portion of that, has exposure for $175,000 for the years 2017 through 2014. Unfortunately, the 2025 school tax bill had gone out and had been paid, so it was not part of the settlement negotiations or the final number. For 2015, based on the formula that the settlement agreement used, we've calculated that refund for 2025 will be $25,900. So that's on top of the 175. The glimmer of good news is that Tim has a reserve fund for these, and you know, it's really your fund for these tax or certiorari cases. There's a couple of lessons here. I think one, we don't want to let these cases go on as far as this one did for as many years. And the way to tackle that is to meet with the town, which we intend to do, meet with the town's council. There are other cases pending. Thank goodness none of them as many years as this one are involved, but we want these cases settled or tried. And it does take some time to get a case ready like this for trial. So a year or two is understandable, but dragging on 2, 3, 7 years is just outrageous. So going forward, we're going to try to monitor this a lot more closely and push counsel for the town and the town to either have these cases tried or settled. Having said that, the town has been cooperative. I don't think they by any means did not look out for our interest. And Tim was privy to some of the negotiations that were going on between the town board and the other side. And the judge oversees these negotiations. So, you know, there's pushing by the judiciary on both sides to get a settlement in place. There's no action needed by the board tonight because there has to be a order from the court, and the agreement that was reached by the town and the taxpayer has to be placed in a stipulation, a written stipulation. So we will see both that stipulation and the court order before we need to act. I don't know when that'll come along, probably within the next 30 days. When we are served with it, we have 60 days to pay. It's an interest-free loan at that point until we do pay. So when that happens, we'll have to meet again and pass a resolution to actually implement payment of the settlement and the stipulation.
When's the Syracuse appraisal coming out? You know offhand?
I don't know offhand.
Okay. And then you were saying, and I did speak with Todd at the assessor's office, and he was explaining the same thing that you were about the income portion of it.
Mhm.
Is that exclusive to that type of an industry? Or what would prevent a business owner on Main Street saying, we've had a tough year, we were at a business loss for the last 3 years, coming back and saying, we'd like our taxes now reduced because we're also in that same quandary? Is that a separate issue where this business can say, you know what, we're losing money the last 5 years at Elderwood, the Main Street business is losing the same kind of money? Or are those two different things?
Well, any business property, Colleen, can be assessed and appraised on a income basis. Fair market value, of course. What could I sell the property for is another methodology. But yes, if you had a business on Main Street that in fact could show by decent evidence that it was losing money, its appraiser could use that method. That method could be attacked by the municipality's appraiser, but it does have some validity.
It just seems the absurdity of it all, going from 6.4 down to 1.2. I don't know too many properties like that in Lake Placid that are in that type of an assessed value.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You know, there's only so much we can do, but it's also my understanding that 4 years, the next 4 years, it's actually being lowered to 1 million each.
Yeah, the 1.2 number that was reached for the immediate future was an attempt, of course, to avoid larger cash refunds now. So we in the town and the county will be taking in less tax revenue because of the lowered assessed valuation going forward.
Well, so the town does the assessment on it, and they assess the value. The school gets payment through their assessed value. Is there anywhere where the school looks at these assessed values afterwards, like to let's say someone on the lake exchange properties, and I know when there's property sales, there could be something that was assessed at $2 million, and when it sells, they sell it for $14 million. So now the town goes in and reassesses it and they say, oh, it's worth 13. So if that same person then comes in and says, files a complaint again, is there somewhere where the school looks at these big jumps in assessed value to say like, we need to look at this ourselves, not just go by what the town's saying, or how does that?
Well, the school could, you have an assessor who's a full-time paid professional by the town. It gets a little more complicated because there's a lot of mandates out of Albany as to how local assessors are supposed to and are required to assess property. But your example is a good one. I mean, it's supposed to be based on full market value, current full market value. So if that $2 million property sells for 14, the new owner should get an assessment of 14 or something close to it.
Yeah.
We don't have any direct involvement, Christopher, in how the assessor sets the values. We certainly could have dialogue with that person. That person has been in place for quite a while now. Some of you may know him, Todd. But really, we're at the mercy of the paid assessor, who's a professional. Any other questions?
I think what I have a huge issue with as a board member, as a taxpayer, as a human being, is you can't tell me that a company like Elderwood that's attached to a parent company needs to do this to now effectively hurt all the kids in the district.
Yeah, everybody in
It's
the
sad.
district.
It's absolutely sad, the amount of money that you pay to have a loved one there, and you're telling me that we as a district, because of something that happened from 2017 to 2025, not to take the brunt of that, and the kids and the teachers have to take the brunt of that.
Very true, right?
Very true.
Very true.
One thing I want to point out is the last time the district had to do this was, we have a bond that we just paid off of $800,000. But really since then, any type of refunds have typically, or any actions like this have typically been where their assessed value has been frozen and going forward. So from my perspective, this is a unique situation where the property owner is actually seeking a refund. But if you look at, because every year you guys see the board, you guys approve refunds that we get across, that's nothing to this degree. It's usually because of an overpayment or something like that. But this is unique where in the last probably 10 years, the process has been basically set the assess and say for the next 5 years, that assessed value will not change. And that's how they recoup. So this is definitely something new in the sense of it has not happened in at least 10 years. So this is a unique situation that the parties involved, and the town obviously is the one that this was for, agreed that a refund was the best course of action.
Yeah, and without casting any aspersions, this administration in the town has a different approach. The last administration was very hard-nosed about the methodology that Dana just explained for refunds, and that is, we're not going to give you much of any money up front. We'll reduce the assessment going forward, which will hurt us, but it's not going to be cash out of our pocket. Roby Politi was a supervisor, and of course, Roby is a very qualified expert in appraisals, among other things, and I think that had some influence. And again, I'm not criticizing the current administration because it's very uncommon to get the reduced assessment going forward and totally avoid any current cash refunds. The only place I ever saw that done, frankly, was in the town of North Elba. We pushed, as the school representative in our discussions with the town, for doing as much of that as we could, and that's why there's so much of that, as Colleen mentioned, going forward. There would have been a much larger cash refund if it had been settled the way most of these cases in other municipalities are settled. We will attempt to do what was done here, even more so if we can, but of course the property owner is not obligated to defer current cash payment. When a case is settled, they're entitled to the full value of the reduction. So it's a game that's played.
It was also under my impression, or I was told that it could also have gone even further in another direction if this had gone to further litigation, we could have ended up paying a higher fee than what's currently.
Oh, there's no question. Although we had a qualified appraiser, you never know, especially if you have a trial, what the crapshoot will look like when you're done, and a judge can lean more towards one appraiser than the other.
I understand
And
that
therefore, would
aspect of it. It's just, it's
No,
extremely
it's
frustrating.
hard.
yeah, oh, it is. They're awful cases.
Silver
Okay.
lining is that we had money in the kitty that we haven't seen.
And the property like this doesn't for your future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thanks, Bill.
See you next time when we have a motion to spend money.
Item is the annual board self-assessment. There is a couple little tidbits under public content. And then there is a much larger under executive content for everyone to look at their leisure. But essentially, when you pull up the public content, there was most everything was in the category 3 or 4. There was nothing that was really outstanding as far as anything that we needed to address immediately. I will say that it was suggested again that we try to do another board retreat this year. So Donna and Will, we did one last year, and our attorney came along and presented for the evening, and we went out to dinner. Prior to that, we had been missing it for several years. So one of the board members suggested that we do a retreat again this year. It was nice last year when we combined it with a dinner. It made it a little bit more pleasurable. So we may do that again this year. The other thing that I think makes more sense for the upcoming year is that we do the self-evaluation first and then focus on our goals and objectives that we're trying to do as a board, which seems to be more succinct than doing it in the reverse. And I think Don actually kind of brought this idea indirectly forth at a couple of meetings ago. So that was something that kind of stood out. I'm not sure what's out. Again, there's a few things that people can look at, but I think overall we seem to act pretty cohesively and hopefully we are effective. I think it would be interesting to have other people evaluate us as board members and get input from a more neutral source instead of evaluating ourselves. That's just a thought. So I don't know. Jim, project for you.
Add to the list, right, Mr. Beaver?
But no, overall, I think everyone, gave their input. I think because Stephanie and Christopher have come on board in July, was suggested that they do their first one next year when they have some kind of background in order to give, feedback for this. But otherwise, I don't know if anybody else has any questions or discussion they'd like to chat about with this.
It just seems like a lot of work. And I think
It
it's
is.
worth it. I don't know how many hours you put in, Karen. Maybe. It'll be really useful for us to just read that whole multi-page outline. We're gonna see trends.
Yeah.
And I really, really appreciate that.
Colleen, for your suggestion, we send out our annual surveys. One of my goals this year is to try and get those numbers up if we can. So adding some questions in about perception of the public, of the board, and approachability and transparency very much could be added to that. So I'll make a note of
I plan on wearing a sandwich board, walking back and forth, encouraging them to come to our board meetings. So that's on the agenda.
it. If you can't make that, can Ryan do it? That's fine.
No,
I would be better.
I'll be the face of the board, let's do it.
Years ago, you wore a bikini on the float, so
Yep,
he's
I
the
did.
guy.
Yep.
In any event, moving on to policy first read. There is under public content. And then we have a small item under executive content for you to review. 6A minutes was under consent. Under personnel, recommended action upon recommendation of the superintendent, approve the coaches in the table below for the 2025-2026 winter sports season. May I have a motion, please? Is that you, Chris?
I'll second. I would have to abstain, although Matt St. Louis is being paid by Sarah District, he is family, so I don't want to.
Any discussion on this? Have we found a JV boys coach or a JV basketball girls coach?
I don't think there will be a.
We're not sure if there's a need as of yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, interesting. If nothing else, please vote.
I was gonna time it well so that I.
We were waiting on you, Don.
Okay, let me think about this.
I have 5 yes and 1 abstention.
Moving into the action item category, 8C is under consent. 8A, recommended action, whereas Lake Placid Central School Board of Education Policy 6255, donation gifts and grants to the district allows for the superintendent of schools to accept on behalf of the board gifts, donations, and grants having a value of less than $1,500. Whereas monies have been granted as follows. Adirondack Foundation, the amount of $4,000 for the Lucy Family Scholarship. Now therefore be it resolved in accordance with policy 6255, the Board of Education hereby accepts the checks from the Adirondack Foundation for the scholarship as referenced above, in the total amount of $4,000. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Thank you to Lucy Family Scholarship. Nothing else, please vote.
Six yes.
Next item, recommended action, whereas Lake Placid Central School Board of Education, policy 6255, donation, gifts, and grants to the district allows for the superintendent of schools to accept on behalf of the board gifts, donations, and grants having a value of less than $1,500. Whereas monies have been granted as follows. The Adirondack Foundation, the amount of $4,500 for the 5th grade trip to Albany fund at Adirondack Foundation. Now therefore be it resolved in accordance with policy 6255, the Board of Education hereby accepts the checks from the Adirondack Foundation for the scholarship as referenced above in the total amount of $4,500. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion.
Second. Any discussion? Again, for this funding. If not, please vote.
Six yes.
Being on to our second good of the cause. Anybody still remaining like to say anything? Karen?
There's nothing.
Linking goals and objectives. Anybody have anything?
So I gave you all little sheets to look at, so you can look at them.
Certainly. Students first. Oh, actually, do you have these as well?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna let you take a peek at this list and see if there's anything that we talked about this evening that might fall into any of these categories. And all you would simply say is, like, for example, the little ones at the elementary school when they went to the potato field, you could say students first and foremost, because that was an activity that we did for the students. But you had some great ideas in your own presentation.
I'll throw it out there. I would definitely say students first and foremost with the already accepted SUNY Albany students for Brandon College. It's awesome. So
And students first and foremost, because of you two coming on board this evening. Wonderful.
What did you say, Donna?
Plan.
Oh, thank you.
very nice.
Will, you had one, the Halloween.
Yeah, um. um, Celebrating achievements. Yeah, I think this is a way to show how people can use like creative skills and ways to design.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Any other ones from anybody?
You have all your community involvement stuff. You got the play coming up, you got the haunted house, you got the parade, you got a whole bunch of things with that, so.
Under leadership, the onboarding of our 2 student ex officio members, so that was under leadership.
So evaluation.
If there are any other ones after the meeting, feel free to reach out to Karen and she can record those. And thanks for everyone's input. Our next meeting date is right before Thanksgiving on November 18th. Any old agenda topics? Any new ones? If not, recommended action is a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing a tenure recommendation. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Please vote.
I think it's not that bad.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Get out of here. Thanks so much.
See you around.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Will and Don, before you leave, please select one of the.
You have one too, all right.
You're on the board.
Take that.
Just want to point out.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. Ryan's only goal is that's fine.
Yeah.
They don't have security on your.
We don't need to.
Contingency
Refill
planning, there you go. right
Those are
there.
yours.
I'll take the folder back.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, the folder, okay.
Yep. I'll just keep going.
Oh, yeah, let me take us off live.
Jim just left the building.
Both right in a way.